Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the 2024 Javelina 100. Live from the Hoka Lounge here in whatever state park we're in, McDowell Mountain State Park.
Mountain, yes.
The 21st Javelina 100 presented by Hoka. My name is Dylan Bowman, joined by a star-studded panel here today for the Shakeout Show, where we are going to preview all the action that's going to be unfolding here in the Arizona desert starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. Immediately to my right, as always, the one and only Corrine Malcolm. Corrine, good morning.
Good morning.
Corrine is just about to go pick up her bib because Corrine is going to be charging through 100 miles on the race course tomorrow. Not to be outdone, immediately to Corrine's right, the one and only Zac Marion, also pinning on a bib tomorrow, 100 miles for Zac Marion. And on the far end of the couch here, none other than Flava Flav with the thermometer around his neck, Mr. Chris Worden. Chris, good to see you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. And not to brag, I'm running the 31K tomorrow, so Chris, you're the only one not pinning a bib on tomorrow. But you've had your experience out here, haven't you?
Yeah, I've run a couple hundred miles out in these here trails, and I've been a competitor at Javelina 100 2 times. One time finished the 100K. Another time did not have the day I hoped for. But I am excited to watch these people. Even though I don't run the race anymore, I still love being out here every year to be a part of the festivities and to see how much it's grown over the time that I've been involved since 2014. I can't believe it. Year over year, it gets bigger and bigger, badder and badder.
Yeah. So we're going to lean on you a lot as we start to talk about the race itself, the very specific and unique vibe of the Javelina 100. There is no other race in the world like this one. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Before we do, just a quick run of show. You're probably joining us on either the Freetrail YouTube channel or the Mountain Outpost YouTube channel. We are honored to be here from a Freetrail perspective, collaborating with our friends at Mountain Outpost for really the first official time. Obviously, we've worked together in many different capacities, but it's an honor to be here, and we're really proud to be part of this Shakeout show today. Obviously, tomorrow, all the action's going to be over on the Mountain Outpost YouTube channel starting at 5:30.
5:30 in the morning, we're going to go live with a little pre-race vibe check, and then we're going to go with race start right at 6:30, the second wave, and then 7 o'clock is going to be the 100K wave, and then it's all action until the golden hour.
All gas, no brakes. So in terms of the Shakeout show here this morning, we're going to start by just setting the foundation, the history, the context, why Javelina is so unique and why it is so special in the North American racing calendar. We're going to talk to Jubilee Paige, the race director, who, from my understanding, is sort of the human embodiment of the spirit of Javelina. So Jubilee is going to join us. We're going to do a deep women's preview, as we always do. Of course, there are golden tickets on the line here tomorrow, so we're going to talk about that. Raj Paul Pannu is in studio here. Raj is going to join us
for Lightning Raj.
A little pre-race interview. Lightning Raj, one of the coolest nicknames in all of sports. So he's going to join us. We'll do the men's preview, make some predictions, and then we'll log off for today. Like I said, live stream is on the Mountain Outpost channel starting at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow. And while we're broadcasting here today, go get your fantasy picks in, fantasy.freetrail.com. We're picking 5 deep. Again, we're going to preview all the characters who we might anticipate landing some of those golden tickets tomorrow. Launching into it, folks, let's start with some of the Javelina history. Chris, as we've already established, you have been around this race for many, many years. Maybe just establish your own personal history with the race and the history of the race itself.
Yeah, so I've been told, and one of the things I love about this sport is finding out the history and where it came from, just as much as where it's going. And Javelina 100 was originally started in 2003 by the efforts of Jerry Kilgariff, Jerry K, as she's affectionately known. And she, for some reason, thought it would be a good idea to host and start a 100-mile race out in the desert. And it started out, she thought that she might get a few dozen competitors back in 2003. She had over 100 that very first year. So from its very beginnings, it was already probably one of the larger events on the calendar, especially at that time. And since then, it's grown over year. Jerry K was the race director from 2003 to 2006. Then it's a little known fact that in 2007, the race director for the Javelina 100 was a high school kid. So there was a guy by the name of Jimmy Rublick. His father, Roger, was a well-established member of the trail running scene. But when Jerry decided that she wanted to step away, she didn't know what would happen to the future of the race. Well, in 2007, Jimmy Rublik, at 17 years old, raised his hand to say, I want to run the race. And so obviously with his father having to probably do the legals and sign-offs and everything, the race did happen in 2007. There's actually video footage of it on YouTube if you look at Jamil's old YouTube channel. But then in 2008, Aerovipa took it over and has brought it into what we see today. And it grew from having strictly a 100-miler, adding a 100K around 2011 or so, and now the Jackass Night Run 31K as well. And it's just grown into this amazing festival. I remember when you came here last year for the first time, one of the things that I was loving was the look on your face as you took it all in. It's just so much fun. And to see people out here for the first time, I have conversations with employees, volunteers, with people, with competitors who are just like, I can't believe this is a thing, and it's so big. It's amazing. If you haven't been out here, make your way out here one of these years, if not to run it, just to experience it.
Absolutely. The thing that I like to say is it's sort of a mix between Burning Man and the Boston Marathon. High performance action at the front of the race, thousands of people camping all in the same area. There's a feeling of family and camaraderie, even though obviously there's a lot on the line, especially at the front of the pack tomorrow. You've got the thermometer around your neck. I think this would be a good thing to introduce into the conversation here early. From what I understand, this is going to be the hottest Javelina on record. Both Corrine and Zac are going to be out in the heat of the day. So maybe we pass it to you first, Corrine. You're also a coach, so maybe talk about how you're approaching the heat mitigation strategies, how other people who are going to be out there might think about it.
Yeah, well, the race is set up really well, actually, to help athletes succeed in that regard, right? There's good ice here at headquarters, actually, for crews to buy throughout the day, as well as all the aid stations being stocked with ice and water. And so you're going to want to utilize that aggressively out there as well, given that it's going to be, 95, 96, 100 degrees potentially at peak between 1 and 5 p.m. tomorrow. I think I'm one of the few athletes who's actually really excited that it's going to be hotter than anticipated.
Sadist.
This is a very flat, otherwise fast, runnable course. And for those of us who are really prepared to be smart, to utilize our cooling strategies, to utilize our sun mitigation, covering your head, covering your neck, covering your arms, can be hard in costume, obviously. But I do.
What's the costume? Or do we have to wait?
I've got a lot of glitter going on, but that's all I can say for now. But the biggest thing is that taking care of yourself well, particularly the front of the pack through kind of, lap 2 and lap 3, the middle of the pack, really starting in that lap 1, like the back half of that is going to get really hot, and then surviving lap 2 into lap 3 is going to be really important for you to feel strong in lap 4 and 5, but it's going to be record heat, and you need to respect that, particularly on the front half of the course, which is net uphill. There's no shade on the course, and that net uphill section is going to feel particularly hard in the heat tomorrow, and so you really want to be on your A game, making it through those first 2 checkpoints.
One of the things I've been thinking about, Zac, maybe this would be good for you. Obviously, you could think of it as an opportunity to bank some time early. The first couple hours will probably be perfect and really nice. Once it sunsets, it'll probably be decent also, but laps 2, lap 3, probably most of lap 4 is going to be pretty tough. How do you approach that strategically from a pacing perspective? Is it wise or is it completely reckless to try and bank time on the first lap?
For me personally, it's all about party pace tomorrow. I have 0 goals in terms of what I am trying to. I want to finish so that I can put in for the Western Lottery.
States qualifier.
That's all I care about. But to that point, if I am coaching one of my athletes through this, yes, I'm going to say, hey, look, you're going to go out in that first lap, and it's going to feel really good. Don't overcook yourself, but do take advantage of it. There's a very thin line that you want to ride in the morning. You don't want to go out too hot. We've seen this time and time again at this course where people will I'm going to go out and take advantage of the cool weather, so I'm going to go out a little hot, and then the heat hits towards the end of that first lap, and then it's too late. You're already baking at that point. So for me, strategically for pacing, if I were out here and really wanting to have a great race for myself, I would take advantage of those first cooler hours, but I would be very cautious about making sure that by the time I hit Jackass Junction on the back end, I'm already dousing myself with water. I'm staying wet. I'm going to get as cold as possible because by the end of that first lap, you're already running into the heat. It's going to be warm coming in for the finish of lap 1.
I mean, we felt that at the 10 a.m. shakeout run. Obviously, race kicking off at 6 to 6:30 based on first lap versus second lap. Those in the 100K kicking off at 7. Yeah, you're going to be toasty by the end of that first lap for sure. You do have a nice.
The start of your first lap, it's going to be warm.
It's going to be at 7 a.m. Yeah, it's definitely, you're riding a fine line there tomorrow morning, where if you go out too hot in lap 1, we do see a lot of like GI distress in lap 2 then all of a sudden. So it's like you got to pick your battles a little bit. And I would say like the goal would be like the smallest positive split possible, knowing that the likelihood is that there are going to be some really big positive splits.
Absolutely. And I think one thing to note on that is that like this is one of those races that on paper does not look very difficult. It is not a super challenging course in terms of the terrain, the elevation gain. What makes it hard is having to make the smart decisions of fueling, nutrition. The hydration part is super important, making sure that your electrolytes are balanced and making sure that you're not going out too hot in the heat. It's a riding a fine line all day.
Yeah, I mean, the finishing rate's like 50%.
Really?
Historically. I'm pretty sure.
Between 50 and 60%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which for a race with less than 10,000 feet elevation gain seems almost incomprehensible. But the heat, every time.
I think that the thing that our viewers and listeners should also recognize and understand is that there is nowhere to hide out there. There is not a lick of shade on the entire course. I just did 4.5 miles in the Hoka Shakeout run. Your boy was sweating bullets. So to everybody who's going to be suffering out in the heat tomorrow, be smart, take care of yourselves, and you're going to have a great day. Let's remember to talk about how this might impact the professional field, the golden ticket chase, a little bit later in the show. Chris, I want to stick with you as we talk about the vibe of Javelina. To our production crew, if you can pull up the photo of Tara Dower from last year that I sent you before our broadcast here. I think this is the perfect visual representation of what makes Javelina Javelina. So as our production team brings it up, setting the context, Chris, I mean, okay, it's up on screen. So I'll just walk us through it here. So this is a photo taken by Howie Stern, the great trail running photographer, of Tara Dower at the 2023 Javelina 100. She's dressed as a cat or a mouse or something like that. She was going for that golden ticket, and she's got a million cactuses stuck in her body all at the same time. To me, it feels like a Javelina encapsulated in a single photo. Maybe using that as a prompt to just talk about the vibe, the spirit of the event.
Yeah, I think that one of the great things about Javelina 100 is that there are other highly competitive, highly enjoyable races. Obviously, I've hung out at Western States, hung out at Hard Rock. Those are amazing events. Javelina, one of the magical things about it is that it's a little bit more approachable perhaps for some people. Number one, you don't have to enter a lottery. You just have to be vigilant. As the registration opens January 1st each year, it doesn't sell out in minutes, but within days. We're working on a wait list. And I think that's part of it. I think that the fact that it is something that you can register for and you've got 10 months to prepare for, and also the costume aspect of it, the Javelina headquarters aspect of it. You have over 300 crew pop-ups set up along the course right here. And that real estate right along the course is actually very highly sought after because people want to see all the runners come in, come out, come through. They want to see the costumes. They want to see the energy, the emphasis on having a great time out here. It's a very fast course, too. So you've got people that are going to be able to throw down some amazing times. 13 hours is not unthinkable out here. We might even see multiple people break that this year on the men's side. On the women's side, chasing 14 is a doable thing. But when it comes to the race and as a whole, there are going to be runners out here, hundreds of them, for another 14, 15 hours after that fact, chasing their own story and looking to complete, possibly in their case, their first or only 100-mile race. And that's one of the things that's really truly inspirational, is watching those last few people grind their way out, like some of the other big 100-milers. You see them fighting through everything to get through, and you can kind of see them coming up the trail, and they've got to make their loop around headquarters to cross that finish line for the final time.
So cool. So to our production team, while we're talking about the course, we might as well actually talk about the course. And we've got a little visual here that will help our audience understand it a little bit. It's 5 laps. So what our audience is now looking at on YouTube is John Ray's winning Strava file from 2023, his course record Strava file. I just wanted to put this up so that they can see the elevation profile and the nature of the course. The first lap is a little bit longer, and then it's 4 identical laps, laps 2 through 5, to close out the full 100-mile distance. It's under 10,000 feet of total climbing. about half of the lap is gradual uphill, half of the lap is gradual downhill. So it's kind of a grind to that far end of the course where the infamous Jackass aid station is. Anything else you guys want to add about the course that'll help our viewers and listeners anticipate what might happen tomorrow?
So I actually went out and rode the course on our e-bike, testing some new equipment for the filming for this weekend. I did that last week, and this is my first time out on the course doing laps, and I was actually pretty shocked with how kind of aggressive some of those bumps are leading into Jackass. Like when you do those little climbs and you're going through those washes, it's pretty technical, a lot more technical than you think, and they are kind of like punchy in the gut little climbs. So it's not a super easy way getting out there, but once you hit Jackass and you're on your way back, it is a nice gradual, almost always downhill descent all the way back through like Rattlesnake. So I think if you can do the work to get out to Jackass, you just kind of got to turn things into neutral and just like get it back to the finish line to start another lap.
Yeah, there's places, and once again, it's looped, which might also speak to the attrition rate a little bit. It's so easy to drop out because you get back to your crew and you're like, I don't want to do that again. But that being said, there are lots of really great places on course to reset over and over again. Every time you come through headquarters here, right? That's a great time to reset for the next loop, to mentally like check off the last loop. It's no longer exists. Now you're just thinking about the next one. Same thing with it being out on course, like getting to Jackass before you kind of hit the downhill to come back around. Like that is also a really great place to be like, cool, I made it here. You know, you can chunk it out to each aid station, that 4-mile section, that 5.5-mile section, etc. But really, like as a runner out there, I think it's really important to give yourself that reset to say, okay, I'm done with that. Now I'm in this next section ready to go.
Yeah. It's a good observation, something for our audience to think about too. Because all of the crew and all of the action is in one specific place, it does make it easy to sit down in a chair and not stand up. So to our...
You can lose a lot of time here at
Right.
headquarters if you're not paying attention.
I got to say, I get to hang out here all day tomorrow, and it's going to be very easy for me to hang out. So to our runners, don't do that.
And with the fact that you do come back here 4 times before your final loop, crews and pacers oftentimes have to basically kick the mid and back of the pack runners in the pants to get back out there, because you do find yourself, you're so close to your car, you're so close, you've got your setup, your crew zone that you're getting comfortable, and you know, if you spend more than a couple minutes here, you find yourself in trouble.
The Airbnb with the pool is like only 20 minutes down the road. Like there are lots of reasons to stop, but
this is the only shade that exists in the
Gotta go.
entire state
Speaking
park.
of shade, you
Yeah.
guys watching out there in the sun, come on in.
Come
Let's get
on
a part of it.
in.
Let's
you
go.
can be
That's
very
one thing I
close.
love about this course is that the crews are one of the most integral pieces. You
Yeah.
guys, it's all about you
All
supporting
right.
us. Come on in. We love it.
Who's racing tomorrow? All right.
Yeah.
All right, so that was our quick introductory segment. Let's bring in race director Jubilee Paige, who can help us go a little bit deeper and get some of the details. Have a seat, Jubilee. All right, I am perhaps most excited for this segment of the show, Jubilee. We don't know each other super well, but you have an impeccable reputation in the sport, and everything I always hear about Javelina is that this is basically your art project throughout the year. So maybe first just explain a little bit about your history with the Aravaipa family. Yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
History with the Aravaipa family and your history with Javelina specifically.
My history with the
Yeah.
Aravaipa family. Yeah, I started specifically at this race as a volunteer, which was wild to me because I had actually never known that people were out in the desert running hundreds of miles. I had just started trail running. I had just gotten
Who
into
are these idiots?
like a 12K, and I was like so stoked for myself. And then I came out here and people were running hundreds of miles, and I was like hugging the sweatiest, most incredible athletes I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, okay, what is this culture and who are these people and how do I become part of it? And so then I got into the trail culture, and it led me to Aravaipa, and just continued to be a volunteer until it happened that I was able to join Aravaipa as an office manager, I think in 2015. And within a year, I became a race director, and then just a year after that. So I've been directing this race since 2017, and this has been, I think, just my favorite race of the entire season. Like of everything that we do, it's one of my favorites for sure.
I just want to reinforce for the audience here, starting as a volunteer and now one of the MVPs of the entire Aravaipa operation. So a good example of just go give back. You never know what doors, what opportunities will come from that. How many runners this weekend? Maybe just give us the quick race director update.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we're anticipating about 800 runners in the 100 mile, which is stellar. We've got about 430 in the 100K. I think it's one of our largest 100K that we've hosted. And then we have 250 incredible crazies coming out for the 31K.
251.
That's right. Watch out.
And they're going to inject some energy on Saturday night. So it's just so fun to see everybody out here, especially in the heat.
Yeah, especially in the heat. One thing that has always blown me away when I've come out to crew and pace before at Javelina is that you somehow appear in a new costume about every hour on the hour. Tell us a little bit about, obviously this is a big production, but you've got another production going on, which is dazzling us with costumes all day long.
It really is my first job. Yeah. That I am the personality hire. I've convinced myself for sure of Aravaipa running. I don't know how this started. I think in 2017 or 2018, Jamil and I did a music video, and we went out to the Spirit Halloween, and we bought maybe 20 costumes for this music video, and it just became like this trove of like, I can just change during the race. And then it became a staple of what I was doing at every single Javelina, that I would change into a different costume every couple hours. So it's just kind of evolved from there, and now it's like it's part of the production. Is
there a theme this year? Do we have a theme?
I don't know if we have a theme, but next year definitely we have a theme, because I've already thought about all of my costumes for next year as well. So.
I mean, I was here crewing Devin Yanko, and you came out in a pair of completely bedazzled Hokas, and I was like, this person's my new hero.
Yeah. We did like kind of a play on Wizard of Oz, and those were my ruby slippers, like taking me back. So there was no place like Javelina.
That's
clicking
what I
my heels.
meant by this being sort of like your personal art project. Can you talk about sort of the creative spirit that you bring as the race director into Javelina to make it what it is? Because I think one of the things we're trying to get across to our digital viewers is they need to come out here eventually and experience it themselves.
I agree, yeah, absolutely. I can't really explain it to people appropriately. I think it's one of those things that you have to come out and witness for yourself. And, I always start on a Sunday, and Monday, like, this is a completely blank canvas out here. This park is completely just gravel. There's nothing out here. And then we build it into this like just colorful mecca of ultra running, and it's just so fun to see it all come together. And it feels like an art project each year, and so this is the way I paint. So this is my canvas that I work on, and each year it becomes kind of this wild production and something new to try.
Well, what's amazing to me, I mean, I've been a part of this race, as long as you've been a part of this race, and year over year, one of the amazing things about this, and I talked to you about this in the off season and everything, but like, how do you continually, like, repeatedly top yourself? I mean, now we've got dance parties, we've got costume pageantry, we've got tattoo artists setting up shop out here. People are literally getting ink at this race now.
I'm devastated that I will likely miss the drag show because I will hopefully be running actively. So
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Just time your lap to come in during that.
And honestly, I think I'm a little bit of like a runner-led inspired director, right? So like every year there's something that runners do or something that runners bring to Javelina that I haven't seen that I'm like, that would be really cool. I want to inject some of that into next year. So like 2 years ago, I think we had Patagonia out here, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a drag show? And Hoka was like, we can make that happen. And I am so stoked that, it's just like, it's not just for runners, but it's for the crew, it's for the pacers, it's for anybody who's coming out to the desert to experience this race. And,
So again, if you're watching us digitally, you got to come out and experience it for yourself at some point. A couple more things before we let you go. We've just been talking about the heat and stuff. I'm sure there's going to be some people who are actually going to be racing tomorrow who are wondering sort of how you and the team are going to be helping them avoid, the negative implications of triple-digit temperatures.
I will say just like a massive shout out to my team, because I think I work with some of the best people in the industry as far as ultra running and events go. And my crew, there are seasoned veterans out here who know how to take care of the runners, who know kind of what to expect. And we build an oasis out in each part of these remotes. So each one of our remote aid stations, they'll have enough water, they'll have enough ice. I want you guys to be able to use that and utilize that to be able to keep yourself cool and keep yourself moving forward. So that's the biggest thing, is like, we will bring the resources, we will bring the team and all the spirit and all the support. All you have to do is run.
Any final comments, questions for our race director?
One thing I will say is that I had the privilege this year of being at Aravaipa headquarters a few days before this race went off, and that place buzzing with team members. I mean, everybody. I want everybody in the crowd to know, like, what Aravaipa does and what Jubilee puts together for you guys is, bar none, one of the most amazing feats in all of trail running and 100-mile races. It's insane the amount of work that goes into it. So absolutely, let's hear it for Jubilee, everybody.
All right,
Your
Jubilee
race director.
Paige. Thank you so much, Jubilee. I'm sure you got a lot of work to do. We'll let you go take care of it. Well said, Zach. It does take a team, it does take a village, but it also takes a great leader to lead that team. And
The
great to
ringleader
have
of this circus, for sure.
Jubilee here in studio with us here briefly. All right, let's go into the women's preview. Then we're going to talk to Raj Pannu. We'll do the men's preview predictions, and we'll sign off for the afternoon. Corrine, I guess we should say, aside from Corrine Malcolm,
Duh.
get us started on some of the women's favorites and, you know, those who are going to be sort of chasing the golden tickets this weekend.
Yeah, it's an interesting crew, because I don't know that there's one runner where I'm like, yes, it is, you know, the Heather Jackson, the Camille Herron, the Devin Yanko, someone that we expect to be kind of off the front, leading from the gun. But there is a very deep women's field where I think we actually have a lot of women that have very similar skills, will end up putting together quite a competitive race. One person that could go off the front, who I'm unsure if is in Arizona, is Ashley Powelson, but Badwater 135 winner, very talented, very fast. It's going to be hot. If she is actually racing, she'd be someone to keep your eye on. Hard to miss, hot pink hair. But behind her, you've got this, you know, you've got Riley Brady, who comes in with the fastest PR of the people starting in the women's race, running 14:45 in 2022, has a lot of race experience.
Has achieved a golden ticket here.
Yep,
How's that experience?
ran really well. Not quite putting the perfect day together last year, but is back for a golden ticket and is also signed up for Black Canyon. So Riley Brady wants a golden ticket. So I expect them to be very much in the mix. Anna Loudon and Nay Cassius is also here. She ran a phenomenal Western States, but unfortunately finished right outside of that top 10, and that very good 11th place finish. She has the 100K record here, where she averaged like 8:06 pace for the entirety of the 100K. If she can link up, you know, 40 more miles, she's, I think, definitely, she's my like pick for the potential taking that win. Also in that mix, though.
Spoiler alert. Get into the predictions later, Corinne.
Yeah, no, totally. Spoiler. But you've got people like Lauren Puretz, who is 4th here and then got a golden ticket at Black Canyon. You've got Becca Wendell, if she is healthy. The run that she put together at Black Canyon was outstanding. The run that she almost put together at Western States was outstanding. So Becca's someone that to keep an eye on. Nicole Bitter, phenomenal 100-mile runner, phenomenal fast 100-mile runner. Other Corinne Chalvoy, I think, actually could put together a really good day. Erin Clark wants back into Western States in a big, big way. And then obviously Hannah Allgood is very much in that mix as well, but we'll be doing her debut 100 here, which is always like a fun, but like there's always question marks associated with like doing your debut 100.
Zach, comments, go
names.
deeper on some of that. I think one of the things we should start talking about now is like the golden ticket chase is going to be impacted by the heat tomorrow too, right?
Big way.
How does
Absolutely.
the heat impact the chase for the golden ticket specific to the women's race first?
So I always think about it like this. If you're going for something like a golden ticket, you're kind of going at a high speed, right? And high speed leaves very little margin for error. Now you're starting to make that margin even smaller by adding in these external forces like a super hot record heat year. And you're only able to ride that line to a certain degree. So this is all about people who have been doing the heat training, people who are racing very intelligently The course itself is not a physically demanding course, but it is going to have a lot of pressure on it in terms of the heat, in terms of the competition. So those who manage themselves well and those who race intelligently, I cannot stress this enough, you have to run your own race and be smart. Otherwise, you will get chewed up by the desert or the choice.
A lot can happen in lap 5 is the biggest thing. And like when you add the golden ticket pressure and then you add record heat, I think all of a sudden what's happening in lap 2 or 3 is important. But what could happen from lap 2 to lap 5 is monumental.
We saw that last year. We literally saw that where it came down to a battle, a head-to-head battle between Riley Brady and Ragna. And Ragna made the pass either late on lap 4 or early on lap 5. I mean, that's what happens out here. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Heather Jackson famously in her first go here led for 80 miles in a phenomenal fashion before, coming back to nail it last year. And so it's like a lot can happen. You can outrun your legs, you can outrun your fitness, you can outrun your ability to deal with the environmental factors. Again, I keep saying I'm probably the only person excited that it's going to be hot. And part of that is that competitive piece. Like if it was 80, I don't really see myself like fighting for a top 5. But now that it's potentially 100 degrees, I'm like, cool, lap 4 and lap 5 might be great for me.
It kind of turns into one of those things where those who are fastest actually are going to like have that added layer of like, do you use that weapon in a course or a day like tomorrow where you've got a lot of heat? Maybe it's not about who's the fastest runner, who's got the best turnover speed. It's going to be about who's intelligent, who's stronger, who's more durable.
Yeah. Mistakes are magnified when the environmental conditions are more challenging, meaning if you do miscalculate your nutrition, your pacing, you unravel more quickly, more severely than you do when it's a cooler year. Pretty obvious, but worth stating nonetheless. Couple of comments from me just on the women's race before we move on. I think, Anna Loudon's a really interesting character. You mentioned F11 at Western States last year. I've heard she's been training in Flagstaff.
I think she
very
might have moved
focused.
to Flagstaff. I'm
Really?
like, yeah, it's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Anna, tell me if you've actually moved to Flagstaff or not. But she's been in Flagstaff for a little while. Be curious to know if that's actually a permanent move or not.
Yeah. Anyway, very interesting. And you mentioned Erin Clark, too. I feel like she's sort of flying under the radar coming into a race like this, but as we all know, has the talent. Won Lake Sonoma to qualify for Team USA a couple years ago. Has a very decorated, flat and fast running lineage going back to her days at the University of Colorado. So
yes,
Erin
and
Clark.
started Western States but didn't get the finish. Definitely wants to be there next year. And while she maybe hasn't had the flashiest race season, she's had, I think, some of the most consistent training in recent years. She was out all of last year with an injury, effectively, and so I think that's part of why she's flying under the radar. But when Erin's on, Erin is really on.
I do have some inside information that she is definitely going for that ticket and that win. I've got to have someone on course for her ready to go for a course record pace. That's what I've been told. So we've got someone ready to take her for a course record
Get
lap.
your fantasy ballots together. Chris, any closing comments?
Yeah, well, there's another. I don't know how deep we're going to go into the field, but there are a couple names that we haven't brought up yet that I would like to talk about. One is McKendry Hickory.
Totally.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, talk
Tell
about
us.
somebody who's had. McKendry finished 6th here last year, had a great race, and also what she did at High Lonesome this summer.
Phenomenal high level
Butchered
performance.
that course. That is super impressive. So that means she can run, the rough and rugged mountains and can also come down here to the desert and throw down. Really looking forward to see if she's able to improve upon her 6th place finish last year, because if she does, that puts her right in the middle of the discussion.
Yeah,
Very
interestingly too, she the running community, the community at large has stepped up for the Hickory family, but her and her husband lost their house in a house fire just a couple of weeks ago, and so they are like completely having to rebuild and start over. But she was able to make it out here, so she is coming in with kind of that recent trauma on the home front, but she's phenomenal. Really happy that she's going to be out here. And yeah, after the High Lonesome performance, I do think that if someone's got wheels,
Wow.
she could be a 4th lap phenom.
Another name that is really probably under the radar for the national scene, somebody who's really tried very hard to break out, and that's Sierra DeGroff. Sierra's an Air Viper Racing Team member, and she won jackpot this year, I believe, just under 16 hours for 100 miles. And she is somebody who's actually worked her way up. Like, if you look at her results, like even as recent as like 5 years ago, she turned herself from a 25-hour 100-miler into a 16-hour 100-miler. That's amazing to me. And she, from what I've heard, has big goals. Like, She thinks she can improve on her PR by an hour out here this weekend, even with the conditions. She's out of Vegas, so she's used to the heat. So if she actually improves from 16 hours by an hour, again, that's another name that
That'd be
puts herself
phenomenal.
into the discussion. So that's another runner. I'm really curious. I'll be talking to her later today as one of our interviews. Sierra DeGroff, another name that that might not be familiar to a lot of people in the sport as a whole, but maybe one that they'll know real well by the end of the weekend.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. Shout out to McKendry and Sierra. And yeah, a reminder, if you're watching us on the Mountain Outpost YouTube channel or on the Freetrail YouTube channel, all afternoon on the Mountain Outpost channel, there's going to be some athlete interviews of some of the characters that we're talking about here today. Before we move off the women, Raj Pannu, if you're close, we're going to get to you in just a sec. I just want to establish here, Camille Herron holds a CR, 14:03, stupid fast time from 2021. Devin Yanko is the second fastest time. I'm sorry, Heather Jackson has the second fastest time, which he set last year, 14:24. Devin Yanko is the third fastest time, 14:36. So again, we're going to be making our predictions a little bit later as to whether or not CRs are in jeopardy here this weekend. I just wanted to reinforce, I think past golden ticket recipients who are here again, Lauren Puretz, Riley Brady, Becca Wendell, and Nicole Bitter,
And
I think,
Anna Loudon.
and Anna Loudon. Right, okay.
Quite a few.
So yeah, people with experience getting the golden tickets, oftentimes doing it a second time maybe is a little bit easier. Anyway, Raj Pannu, make your way to the studio. The
Let's
lightning
go,
Raj.
Raj.
He's got some extra
Before we
hair.
do our men's preview, we're going to do a quick interview with one of the men's favorites.
Gonna hand him-
Big round of applause for Raj Pannu.
It's the best hair in the men's sport of ultra running for men. That's
Absolutely.
Right, how's my
question.
hair, guys?
You're-
Good?
It's looking
honestly, your regular
Hair on
hair
hair.
looks so good
It
that
looks so
like
much
that,
better.
that's almost
Your
taking
regular
away
hair
from
looks
it.
better, man.
All right, I'm going to take
Yeah.
off the ruse, okay? Here we
Love
go.
The
it.
big reveal.
I love it. Yes.
Raj
Best
Pannu,
hair in the business.
welcome in studio, buddy. You're taking on the 100-miler tomorrow. You're the 100K course record holder from last year. Maybe just get us started, how you're feeling coming back to Javelina, taking on the 100-miler.
I feel pretty good. I'm confident. I ran this course last year. Granted, it was 10 degrees cooler. The training has been on point. I haven't missed anything. No workout has gone bad. I got sick for a little bit, but I called that a down week. But now I'm up and top and feeling good. So no complaints on my end.
We were talking about the course a little bit earlier. As somebody who did 3 laps here in the desert, what did you learn from it, especially for those who are watching us who are also going to be taking on the race? Like, what can they expect, and how are you approaching it strategically, especially with the heat?
I think everyone, regardless of the pace that you're going, everyone is going to feel a dip once loop 3 and 4 come along. And I have to just remind myself that we're all in this together. We're all not feeling all that great and kind of have to weather that storm, ironically enough, in the desert, you know? So you just have to find a way to get past loop 3 and loop 4.
It is a bit of a vortex coming back here to headquarters, so experiencing that dip when you're at headquarters makes it easy to embrace the chair. So good advice. Yeah.
Raj, you ran your first 100-miler earlier this year at Jackpot, and you had a fantastic performance, sub 12 hours. It was an honor to watch it, and watching you operate was absolutely amazing. What did you learn in that race, even though it was a flat road surface? What did you learn in tandem with what you learned last year at Javelina that you'll be able to combine and apply out here this year?
Jackpot, the temps hit 70 degrees, which doesn't sound like much. But if you spent an entire winter training in 30, 40, 50 degree weather and 70 degrees hits, what I learned from that was that you have to acclimate to heat and hotter temperatures. So that Jackpot in some ways was my Javelina because it was so much hotter during that winter time. And I could have done things like been in the sauna, taken hot baths, and in prep for Javelina, I would run in the middle of the day around 80 to 90 degree temps and then come home and I would soak in a hot bath for like 20, 25 minutes. That would be like my threshold. And then after a hot bath, I would get out, wipe myself off for 10 minutes and kind of just let my body like be in that state before I start hydrating again. In other words, I was just beating myself up in prep for this race. Yeah.
In preparation for
Great
beating
mental
yourself up
training.
out there
That's
tomorrow.
right. Yeah.
Super interesting. Maybe speak about the actual practical training, because on Instagram you posted you poured your heart and soul into it. It's
Yeah.
evidenced by running in the middle of the day, taking hot baths
Yeah.
after. But maybe walk us through some of the volume, intensity, the specific training you put in for Javelina.
Most people don't know this, but I actually have a full-time job. I work as
School
a
teacher, right?
I work as a teacher at a continuation school, so that takes a lot of energy out of me. And trying to juggle that along with training, that's the biggest challenge. If I was just training and not like teaching, that would be a whole different ball game. But in some ways, it's like it's allowed me to build that like mental strength and fortitude to be able to problem solve when things get really difficult, right? So you have to engage in the critical thinking process as to like, how can I best maximize my training while juggling other things outside of training in itself? And now once you start tapering and you're ready for this race, it's like, here's the wedding ceremony, you know?
I love it. Raj, you and I went and grabbed drinks a couple weeks ago. I know all about your training. I know all about everything. The only question I have for you is, what hair product are you, like, how does that look so good? I have to know.
I mean, seeing your hair in person, man, it's beautiful.
That is,
Tim Tollefson, watch out. You have a competitor.
I think Tim Tollefson is the king of the hair game. I would say that I don't use any hair products. That's the biggest. Like
it's just naturally that beautiful. Like
Just
that's
a
just
humble
That's
brag if
one
I've
of the
ever
biggest
heard one.
bombshells we've heard so far today.
Exactly. I love it.
I guess the one question that's on my mind is that I think that we've got a number of guys, yourself included, that have not only their eye on the win, on a golden ticket, but running a really fast time here. We were talking earlier about how that first lap is going to feel cool for a little while before things really heat up. And you don't have to give away all your secrets, obviously, but I'm just wondering how you're going in thinking about that, like your own race versus the battle that's going to be going on out there.
As weird as this sounds, I don't have a concrete game plan. I am simply going to react. And I'm just going to gauge things and improvise like on the spot. Let's just say somebody takes it out in 6:50 pace. Like, my body knows that I shouldn't go out at 6:50 pace. You know, if it's like 15 seconds slower and I want to like gauge that single track and take the lead, like, I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about like being adaptable and like kind of that's been your life mantra and how you train. I think that's going to work really well for you on a course like this because there are so many things thrown at you mid-race that you've got to adapt to. The heat might affect you differently. The other runners might go out and run their own game plan. It sounds like you're just going to run your game plan and you have confidence to know that your game plan is going to get you in a position of getting a golden ticket, a win, and quite possibly a course record.
Absolutely. My improvised game plan and continuously improvising the game plan through the course of 12 hours and some change, hopefully, fingers crossed, that is really, truly the goal.
I love it. I got to watch you do your magic at Jackpot. It's been incredible. I'm really excited to see you tomorrow.
Wait a second. Let's be most specific here. Are you here for a golden ticket, bro?
I am here for a golden ticket,
Let's
and I want to
go!
run West. So
Awesome. I think it's really interesting to hear you talk about going in with an improvisation strategy because I think there are athletes who come in with very surgical, specific strategies, but coming in with more of an open mind and reacting and having things based on your own personal experience and not based on the spreadsheet that you crafted 3 weeks ago. Something interesting for our audience to take home.
I'll give you context. I arrived here yesterday, and I rented my Airbnb yesterday. So I had no plans as to like where I was gonna be.
Improv.
Yesterday, I just like looked online. I'm like, oh shoot, I need a place to stay. So that's kind of who I am.
All right, couple more things. You're a school teacher. Did you have to get like a substitute teacher today? Do you want to give a shout out to the kids back in Denver who are hopefully going to be rooting you on?
I'll be quick with this. The kids don't know that I run. They don't know. I live a double life.
They call you Mr. Pannu?
They call me Mr. Pannu. I don't tell them my first name. And they don't really, they see me carry this like glass gallon of water with like electrolytes. And they ask me like, why do you carry that around all the time? And I just tell them, I'm like, I enjoy long walks. So like I need to stay replenished and rehydrated.
What do you teach?
I teach math at a continuation school in the middle of Denver. So I work with kids that are anywhere between the ages of 13 to 21 who have dropped out of a traditional high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, man. And I hope some of them discover your talents, maybe on the broadcast tomorrow. What shoes you wearing out there?
I'm going to wear the
Tech
Rocket X2s. I wore them last year. I love the carbon plate. I love just the cushion of it. And I was here last month, tried them out. I was here last year for the race, and I'm like, you know what? All systems go. I'm very confident in this shoe, and I feel like I will have no problems running in those shoes.
Maybe before we let you go, there was some confusion as to whether you were going to be running Javelina, because I think you were also signed up for Tunnel Hill
Yes,
next month.
yeah.
What's the story there? Are you going to do it, or it depends on how it goes tomorrow?
So when I sat down a couple months ago, I was like, you know what? I think I can pull off this double. I can run back-to-back 100-mile races within a span of, I guess, 3 weekends. Last year I did 100K, and then I came back and ran 50 miles 2 weeks later. But when you train in the heat and you take a hot bath and you see how that feels, you're just like, you know what? I need to detach myself from this because tomorrow is going to be incredibly painful. You're going to be suffering. And if I truly want to like recharge my batteries and have longevity in this sport, I don't need to do anything super duper crazy. But as we all know, when we do these races, when we suffer and we're like, we're not going to do this again, 2 days later, we're like on ultra sign up looking for the next race, right? So that might be me.
So true. So relatable. Closing comments, questions for Raj?
I'm just excited to watch him at some point
Hell
lap
yeah.
me, and it'll be great.
Yeah, it was great to watch you race here last year again. The course record holder in the 100K here, Mr. Raj Paul Pannu, going for the 100-miler this year. Good luck to you, Raj. Thanks for coming in studio. Big round
Let's
of
hear it
applause
for Lightning Raj.
Thank you so much, and good luck to everyone
Yeah.
else. I truly appreciate it. I'll see everyone else out there.
Awesome. Thank
Cheers,
you
guys.
so much, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to do a quick men's preview. We're going to make our predictions, and we're going to sign off for the afternoon before you guys begin the athlete interviews here shortly. So I guess maybe starting in the same place. Aside from Zac Marion, who are the favorites?
Bringing
in the
up the
men's
rear.
race? You want to get us started, Zach?
Yeah, no, I think we've got a lot. Obviously, we have a ton of amazing athletes who are going to be out here tomorrow, and I feel like whenever you get in this position, you're in such a I don't want to forget anybody, but let's go with the big hitters. Obviously, we got Lightning Rajpaul, right? Like, that is definitely one of our top contenders here, the 100K course record holder, having run an incredible jackpot. Like, he's got the fastest, most recent 100-mile. But then we cannot forget about Mr. David Roche's amazing, and like I don't know if we ever expected that Leadville record to go down in our lifetimes. Like, that was incredible. Such an amazing performance for his first 100-miler too. So now he's got a little experience. But is that race still in his legs? We don't know. We will figure that out around mile 80, or he will figure that around mile 80, and we get to watch the show.
Well, and a couple of, like, I was maybe like a week or two after that, all of a sudden his name popped up on the registration list. I was like, oh man, I
Yes.
can't wait.
He's
Well,
rolling
we
on
should,
some
we
of that
should just
confidence.
like really fully emphasize it. David Roche, one of the favorites tomorrow, broke a 19-year-old course record at the Leadville 100 2 months ago. One of the most long-standing legendary course records in trail and ultra running, held by Matt Carpenter in his 100-mile debut, as Zach said. So David Roche making his second attempt at the distance here at Javelina. Keep going.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And then we've got some familiar faces like Blake Slottengren, who had an amazing race last year. We've got Caleb Bowen coming out. Zach Garner is one that is, I think, low-key under the radar, but has incredible performances to his name. That's definitely one to take a look at. Obviously, we've got some fan favorites with like Stephen Kirsch, Matt Daniels, Jeff McGavro. I think he was a last-second entry here. I'm excited to see how he does. Ben Robinson. I mean, I could go down this list and just name after name. This is a murderer's row of 100-mile shredders that are just going to absolutely tear each other apart tomorrow.
Well, akin to the women's field, we've got a number of like returning golden ticket runners who are looking to get back into Western states. Blake Slottengren, you mentioned, Cole Watson, Stephen Kirsch, Matt Daniels. All of those guys have gotten a ticket before and want a ticket again. They want to go back to the big dance, and they've all been putting in the work that would suggest that they are here to do that. A name that you did not mention would be Justin Grunwald, who I think from like a story arc perspective, we are all like, it's like, do you vote with your heart or do you vote with Strava stats? I don't know. But it's like, I do think that Justin has been on an upward trajectory. I think we've been waiting for him to have a breakout race. And is that this weekend? Like, you know, that Justin might be going home with the golden ticket. Like, he is very much in that conversation as well. So I think it's just like, it's going to be really interesting. And you do have this, like, the ego and wanting the course record versus maybe being a little bit more smart. And it's like, I think that while that will play out to some degree in the women's race, I think that will very, very much, not to say that men race dumb. That's not what I'm saying. I'm here for the women's race.
But you're not
but
saying
I'm not
it.
saying
You're not saying it, yeah.
that
You can say it.
I do think that we are more likely to see some potential fireworks on the men's side, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's exciting, it's interesting. If they stick it and they manage the heat well and they continue to eat and their stomach doesn't go south, like, heck yeah, we could see something phenomenal come out despite record heat. But I do think that we run the risk of potential fireworks in the men's field, and what's happening in lap 1 or lap 2 might look very different come lap 5. And there are some dudes in this field who I would not want closing. I would not want Blake closing. I would not want Jeff Mogavera closing. Like, there are some guys that you do not want chasing you on lap 5. And so that's going to come into play.
The thought of being one of the top 2 heading into lap 5 with Blake Slatengren having a puncher's chance of catching you has to, like, be one of those things that's really going to stick in your brain. You want to create enough of a gap because Blake is such a strong closer.
I mean, again, M11 at Western States, and he and Chris Myers were on the track at the same time, and he had brought down like over 15 minutes on Chris in that final section of the race. And so it's like, how far ahead do the top 2 guys need to be going into lap 5 to stay away from someone like Blake if he's closing well? The largest delta between his laps last year was 9 minutes.
Wow.
And his 5th lap was faster than his 3rd and 4th lap. So it's like, that's a guy you do not want chasing you.
Wow.
He's
That is
proven
such a great
intelligence
stat.
and talent at the same time, and that's exactly how you want to race this course.
And
What-
to
what a
be as
great
young
stat.
as he is and running that smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have both F11 and M11 from Western States last year coming back for their golden tickets.
That's
And
running with a chip on your shoulder.
I was actually in the broadcast booth last year when Blake finished, and remember we thought Ryan Montgomery had finished second, and it wasn't until like 10, 15
It was a
minutes
minute
later.
apart.
I was
Yeah.
being texted by people at the finish line being like, hey, Corrine, like, just so you know, like, Blake was second. And so then I'm texting Mike McMonagle being like, hey, can you go tell the, like, on-camera crew that Blake was second? Because I'm watching the live
I
broadcast
probably
from
found
home.
out through the text from
I think I
Corinne.
was texting you and you were ignoring me more than
Oh,
likely.
okay, yeah.
So,
One
you know.
one more name I want to bring up this is my dark horse pick who could potentially have a fantastic race. Ethan Koza moved over from Pennsylvania to Flagstaff to train with some of the elites and the best in the world. He's been getting amazing training in. Casual 40-mile runs at a 7+ minute pace. Like, the dude is fit and trained for this, has shredded a number of Air Viper races this year training for this. This is his breakout. He is ready for this. So just Ethan Koza, keep that name in your back pocket because this dude
Yikes.
is ready.
Fantasy.freetrail.com.
I would say
Holy
the
smokes.
one other name that I maybe would add to that, and again, our goal is not to rattle off 20 names, but I think if you're talking about placing your Free Trail Fantasy ballots, JP Giblin is way down in the Free Trail Fantasy. You got to scroll. But I've heard he's fit. He's run well here. He's run well at Leadville. He's very fast. He kind of brings that, like, Pat Regan style energy, I feel like, to ultra running. And I just think that, like, he's a guy that I wouldn't count out in that field as well, particularly if he keeps his cool through lap 3.
I feel like JP Giblin gets far less respect than he deserves, like, from the community as a whole, because you look at his race results over the past couple of years. Like you said, he's won Leadville, he's won Golden Ticket at Bandera. Like, he is genuinely legit. Like, he was actually leading Black Canyon for the first 15 or so miles, like, right after winning his Golden Ticket at Bandera. He ended up not, I believe he had a DNF, but that man can run. And, like, I don't think that because, like you said, his ultra sign-up is, like, a little bit further down, he doesn't quite get the recognition that he deserves.
I just saw him doing a shakeout with none other than FKT Appalachian Trail FKT holder Tara Dower. Is that going to go?
Yeah, she
Whose
posted-
photo we had on screen
She
here.
posted a video of them on a run yesterday, and she was like, I can't even keep up with him. Like, how am I think she might be pacing him this weekend.
She's gonna be out for a pace.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And it's like she's like, I might get dropped.
Well, no shame in that, Tara. You know, there's a lot to be proud of this year if you get dropped. Yeah.
One
JP,
last name that we haven't even mentioned, Dan Green, M4 here last year, ran a 13:20.
love that guy from West Virginia.
Yep.
Love the West Virginia contingent. The
But will
West-
he even be the fastest guy from West Virginia here
Right.
this year?
Caleb Bowen as well. All right, couple things that I just wanted to mention here. Number one, Ryan Montgomery has dropped down to the 31K. So Ryan Montgomery, you are officially on notice. If you beat me by any less than 30 minutes tomorrow night, we might need to have a conversation afterwards. But Ryan Montgomery, who has been 2 times on the podium here at Javelina, is not going to run the 100-miler. He'll be running the Jackass 31K tomorrow night. I had one dark horse I just want to mention quick, and then I got a hilarious text I got to read. My dark horse for tomorrow is a guy named Bashash Walio. Shout out to Bosch from Gunnison, Colorado. He's staying with Ryan and I here in Arizona. Met him at Mammoth Trail Fest. Sort of a roadie guy. He trains with Sarah Hall in the Crested Butte, Gunnison area for a lot of the summer. He's sort of getting into the trails, a competitor, super competitor, and great attitude. So just want to give a shout out to Bosch Walio. And then yesterday, I got an amazing text from none other than Mr. Eric Sensman. Okay? Here it is, folks. As we begin to make our way towards our predictions here, let this inform your fantasy ballot. Eric Sensman texted me, Debo, I need to tell you something. I've paced the last lap at Javelina 4 times. All 4 times that person has won the race. I'm pacing the last lap for Kirsch on Saturday. I'll let you connect the dots.
Yes.
Oh.
Eyeball
I love
emoji.
it.
Eyeball emoji.
I mean,
So
if you look at his season, right, the dude's been on the cusp of a golden ticket so many times. He's had a great year. I mean, we watched that Black Canyon finish where there were like a million guys within like 2 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. So it's like, Kirsch shouldn't be under the radar in anyone's book, and I love that Sensman is like, I'll let you do the math.
Yeah. Okay, and so as we begin to make our way towards our predictions, just setting the foundation for some of the historic times, we'll remember that the course record fell last year. Mr. John Ray ran a sick 12:43, full 15 minutes faster than the previous course record, which was held by one of our all-time GOATs, Dakota Jones, who ran 12:58 in 2022. And then our guy, Blake Slattengren, 3rd fastest time ever for 2nd place last year. And his time was only like 2 seconds slower than Dakota. So Blake and Dakota pretty much have the 2nd fastest times ever on this course. So that being the foundation for our final segment here, the fantasy predictions. Go to fantasy.freetrail.com. We're picking 5 deep. Your chance to win some dope swag from our partners at Hoka. Who wants to get us started here?
Well, first off, let's talk about this prize, right, for the Free Trail Fantasy. I hear that if you're interested in running Javelina 2025, there is an entry on the line. So take all the information you just heard, do what you want with it, and go make your picks, because you could end up being on the start line next year.
On the start line next year. Chris, you want to get us started?
Sure, we're going to start with the men's or the women's races?
I'd say,
Let's go.
how about
All right.
men's? Give us both of your predictions and times, like our course records in the picture tomorrow.
You got it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start with the men's side. On the men's side, I think it's a 2-horse race. I really do. I think it comes down to Roche and Raj. And I've watched both of them race fairly extensively over the last year and a half. And what I've seen from Raj is just simply unbelievable. I've watched him operate out here. I watched him at Jackpot. And I think that Raj takes it down. And I think that they actually do something unthinkable and both run under 12:30. I think that that's what we're looking at here. I think that both of them are capable.
12:30?
I do.
Oh my God!
I
It's going
think
to be
that it's-
100 degrees.
I mean, we've seen it already
it cooling
drop 20
vests?
minutes. Pat Regan's course record at 13:01 held for about 5 years, and all of a sudden we've dropped 20 minutes off that. So it's not unthinkable to see
Super
2
shoes,
guys.
cooling vests, and carbohydrates, folks. The game has changed. Bold prediction, though.
And their approach is obviously I mean, if you're familiar with Roche, he's like dialed in and tells you exactly what he's. Whereas Raj literally is just flying by the seat of his pants. So you've got like this very two different approaches, but both are going to have wild success here this weekend.
So who's your winner?
I got Raj.
Raj.
Yeah. So I
In
think
a
you're
roughly
talking
12:30. Okay, the
12:30.
women.
In the women's race, I do believe it is going to be somebody who has experience on two sides of the coin here. Riley Brady has been involved in two very close battles over the last 2 years, and in one case they were able to come out ahead, and in the other they were not. So I believe that Riley Brady, with their experience here, is going to come away with the win here this weekend. And I think you're probably not looking at a course record here. Camille's run a couple years ago was absolutely perfect. There was nothing that anybody could have done to go faster than she did at that particular moment in time. I do believe that Riley pushes 14:30, which would be still rarefied air here, but those are my picks. I got Raj and I got Riley.
Raj and Riley, bold picks. Zach, you go next.
Awesome. Okay, so Dylan, I think it was 2021, you and I sat down in your basement, the original Freetrail Studios, and we did one of these prediction shows, right? And I chose someone on the women's side that nobody had heard of, and she came out to a little race called Gorge Waterfalls 100K and shredded it. I'm not going to go against that. I'm going to go again with Hannah Allgood is going to make herself known here on this course. I think she's going to be running close to I would say 14:30 is going to be the women's time is what I had predicted. I think she's going to hit that 14:30. Hannah Allgood for the win on the women's side.
Ben.
All right. You know what? Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. You're about to see a natural phenomenon. Lightning is going to strike twice. We're going to have Lightning Rajpaul coming in for the men's course record in, I'm going to go 12:33 on the dot. 10 minutes off. Rajpaul has the course record and the win and the golden ticket, and we're going to see him at Western States.
Holy smokes, folks. Double Raj so far. Corinne, you next.
I'm just here to mess things up, I think. I'm here to cause
Oh,
chaos.
yeah.
I'm a disruptor. I'll start with my men. And while you all make valid points, I think part of this is me voting with my heart a little bit, and also being like, this is a mountain person. They do really well on mountain courses, but they've run really well at Sierras and all. I've picked Jeff McGavro for the men's win. I think I'm a little Strava biased, maybe. I feel like his training's been really, really phenomenal. He's been putting in like the fast work as well for a guy who would way rather prefer to be like out on skimo skis lapping something. So I do think that, he's really been putting in the time for this race. I would love to see him execute on a course that I don't think many people think would naturally suit him. Like myself, it's not naturally maybe where you'd see me as well. So I'm going with my mountain guy, coming to a flat, fast race and just putting together a good day.
I love that pick.
And then on the women's side, I'm going with Anna Loudon. I do think that they've got experience here. They ran that amazing 100K time. If she didn't have 100-mile experience, maybe that would be a question mark for me, but we watched what she did at Western States, and in a hot year, in hard conditions, she came up just short in 11th, but ran a really solid day. She's got a great support system around her, and I think that they're ready to throw down in the desert. So her 100K road time is probably the fastest in the field as well, and I think that could translate for her Lincoln 5 loops tomorrow.
I love these predictions, guys. You're sort of making me second guess myself, but starting with my men's pick, I'm going with Mr. Matthew Daniels, okay, folks? Somebody who we've barely even talked about here today, but who is potentially the most talented pure running athlete here
Probably the
at
fastest
Javelina.
mile time on the course.
Sub 4-minute miler. He dropped out of the race last year. I also had a text exchange with him earlier in the week, and he's ready to get it done by any means necessary, and I think that attitude alone is going to serve him very well. He's also had a sneaky great season early in the year. He smashed Chuckanut. He was second behind Francesco Pupi there. He won the 30K at Gorge. He was third place at the Big Alta. He just won another race in Oregon. So Mr. Matt Daniels is having a hot season, coming in here, sort of flying under the radar a little bit, but this course is Matt Daniels type course. Horses for courses. Matt Daniels also a horse guy. He's really into like the Kentucky Derby and stuff. I think we're going to see him galloping 5 laps through the desert tomorrow. And I'm saying, I'm thinking 13-ish hours. Like, I don't think we're looking at course records here tomorrow, personally.
Yeah, I would say like just under 13 on the men's side, and I do think that no one's going to touch Camille's time, is in my guess, but I do think that we're going to see like three to five women like under, like we're sending a lot of women under 15 is my guess.
Well, I think with Matt Daniels, one of the things that I think is going to be interesting to watch with him this weekend is the fact that he was out here last year as part of the front pack and did not have a great day. But he's a smart guy.
Right.
So I hope that he took what happened last year and is able to analyze it and better prepare for things this year.
Yeah. I mean, just coming in with the attitude of, I'm finishing no matter what. And we all know he's hungry for the golden ticket. He wants to go back to Western States where he was 4th place back in 2019, I think it was, running a really, really fast, low 15-hour time. So Matt Daniels, my men's pick. On the women's side, I am in agreement with my buddy Zac Marion picking my coach, Hannah Allgood. Hannah, I apologize for being such an unreliable athlete this year. You have been an amazing coach. You're also an amazing athlete. You've had an amazing season, and we can't wait to cheer Hannah Allgood on to victory. I see her similar to what you said about Jeff McGavro, built for the mountains, but is such a talented athlete. A change in training stimulus, a change in emphasis and focus. No doubt she's fit and prepared for the flatter environments here in Arizona.
Yeah, she went Strava dark on me, but it's I won't hold it against her.
Okay. All right, so I've got, roughly 1440. So, sort of fast times, but not course record times in my books for our prediction. So anyway, go to fantasy.freetrail.com. You can play along, make your own predictions, and have a chance to win an opportunity to race Javelina next year and get some Hoka swag.
One more question. Okay, so who wins in the media division?
Oh.
Well, if Zach's party pacing, and I hope I have a good day, I hope I'm winning.
She's absolutely going to destroy me. This is a party pace race. This is fun. I've got costumes that I'm going to be out on course with.
Here's the question. Zach will likely, maybe mistakenly, beat me on lap 1. But
she knows me so well. I'm called out.
I will say, come lap 3 or 4.
Hell yes.
I'm going to be taking a nap between lap 3 and 4 in my AC trailer over there. So
that's
you
where
can
I
pass
strike.
me.
That's
This is a perfect segue. I just wanted to give a few shout outs before we fully wind down here. And I wanted to start with our co-hosts here today. Corrine Malcolm, Zac Marion, taking on the full 100 miles tomorrow and gracious enough to be here in studio, giving us their expert perspective and commentary before they do so. Good luck out there. I hope you guys really enjoy it. A couple more. I wanted to give a shout out to Hella Sidibe, who's going to be running. And a reason I wanted to bring it up, I was just chatting with him, and apparently Scott Jurek is flying in to pace him the last 2 laps. So Scott Jurek, whose 51st birthday is tomorrow, is going to be doing 40 miles with Hella Sidibe if all things go well.
It's going to be a party.
And also I wanted to give a shout out to Carrie Meng, who is the assistant race director for Western States. She is going to be doing the 100K tomorrow also. Of course, I'm sure Craig Thornley is going to be here handing out golden tickets too. So obviously that's going to be one of the stories of the weekend, the golden tickets. But I want to give a shout out to Carrie Meng, who's an integral part of the Western States organization, who doesn't get enough kudos out here, living the sport herself, taking on the 100K. Those are my shout outs. Any closing comments?
Also, a huge shout out to the crowd that showed out today. This is a show we are trying to bring. Let's go. We love it. This is a show for you guys, so thank you for showing up today.
Hell yeah. Shout out Yassine DeBoon, my boy Clark Morgan. Those guys are doing the 100 tomorrow, too.
Yes.
Closing comments from the panel here, guys. What an awesome show.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who tunes into this stuff. And, that's what makes this something to do, because, without an audience, without people who have this interest in these athletes and these competitors, we wouldn't be out here doing it. So thanks to everybody who tunes in and enjoys what we do, because we love doing it. It's a labor of love for sure.
Absolutely. I was just going to say, I've been spending most of my last couple of weeks, I signed up a week and a half ago. I need to get my Western States
You must know people then.
Know a few people. It's one of those things where, I know what's gone on behind the scenes to make not only this race happen, but especially the live stream. And that's where I come from as a live stream director. I want to have a huge shout out to my crew over there at the live stream, all of our camera guys, all of our producers. We've got Nick on the mic. We've got Jordan back there producing. We've got the one and only Jamil Khoury over here making it happen. Huge shout out to those guys for letting us bring this to the audience. what happens here at Javelina is so unique and so special that we just had to share with the world. So thank you to my team for doing that and for allowing me to step away and go run 100 miles.
Well deserved. Corinne?
I'm just like so sweaty right now that I'm just like very excited to
I
go.
thought you said you were happy for the heat.
I'm like really excited to go and immerse myself in the pool at our Airbnb for a little
Yeah.
bit and put my legs up and
Yeah.
get everything set up for tomorrow. But I'm just thrilled to be out here. I had an option to do a much quieter 100-mile by myself, and I was like, you know what? I need people to yell at me for 100 miles. I'm going to Javelina.
I will gladly take that responsibility tomorrow. Yell at Corinne. Okay, great. Well, thank you to everybody for watching our show here today. What a joy it is to be here at Javelina again. This is only my second time here. I will never, ever miss this race again. As Zach said, a big thanks to the team behind the scenes. Make sure you are subscribed to the Mountain Outpost YouTube channel where all the action is going to be broadcast start to finish, starting at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Big thank you to Hoka for their support. This is the Hoka Lounge.
Huge shout out to Hoka.
We had an amazing shakeout run here this morning. The Hoka team always
Like 500
fantastic.
people in a shakeout run.
Yeah, amazing. So again, make sure you get up tomorrow morning, set your alarm for 5:29. Be on YouTube by 5:30. Hot cup of coffee. The Mountain Outpost team is going to keep you guys entertained for the duration of this amazing 100-mile race. Golden tickets on the line, but also heroes in the middle and the back of the pack too. We'll be telling a lot of those stories throughout the broadcast tomorrow. Again, big thanks to the Mountain Outpost team. For Chris, Zach, Corinne, I'm Debo. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.